Good morning, comrades. We got Jeff in the studio live. We got Robert in the studio live. I'm feeling good today, Robert. You know why?
I'm glad one of us is.
Well, I'm feeling good because today is the first for DSA New Orleans. This is the first brake light clinic we've done since prior to COVID. So we're popping off.
Are you
we're
doing that today?
Yeah, over at right around. So folks, if you're listening, yeah, we're definitely doing a brake light clinic today. It's going to be right out by Pagoda. Right off of Broad Street, starting from noon to 4. If you want to join us, if you have a brake light out, if you want to volunteer, join us out there. Brake Light Clinic, DSA New Orleans. We also having a health fair out there as well. It's getting back on our stuff from prior to the COVID situation where we kind of like shut down a lot of operations. So. Getting the old mutual aid machine back up and running. How about you, Robert? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad. Man, look at you. All grown up and taking charge of the DSA. That's so cool, man.
Take the bull by the horns, man.
I mean,
you know what the best part is, by the way? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm facilitating the work, and people are stepping up and doing it, so I'm not even in the situation where I have to, like organize it, because I got some really awesome people that have stepped up and done that, especially considering that this week was also the first week of school.
I know. I thought about you the other day because I saw the little camera ticket lights. Is this my water?
That's for you, man.
Oh, you just gave me a water? Where did this come from?
I bought it from the store.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't trust anything that came from this studio.
Wow. I trust everything in the studio.
For like a communal space, nobody cleans the fridge around here.
Yeah, no, I got you a water, man. I did that for you. All
right.
I heard you had a bad week.
It's been pretty rough, but I'm glad that you're doing all that, because even like people who don't know anything about the DSA, I found they know about the brake light clinic, so it really is doing. It's
good
doing
propaganda.
God's work. It's doing her work.
Honestly, it's good propaganda. Mm-hmm. It's doing good work to help people. I mean, changing brake lights is not that hard.
See, man, there's hope for you. See, I like that. Like the drunken conversations we have when you use words like propaganda.
You know,
like,
I'm pro propaganda. I'm pro positive agitprop.
I think more people, more leftists need to be like. That's not. It's just a descriptor. It's not a bad word. And like. Things can be, you can propagandize things and they can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it became...
In fact, if you don't do that, you're leaving a lot on the table.
I mean, there's so many things that I want to say, like the Nazis and then the Soviets to a degree, like they ruined.
Well,
like they kind of made things such a live wire that you can't touch them, but like... So people it's like a knee jerk of World War II and Cold War of like propaganda is just immediately means fake news. Like people use that as a synonym for fake news, but it's not. It's propaganda is just a descriptor. You're trying to sway opinions. You're trying to like win hearts and minds. It doesn't necessarily mean it's false.
And you know what does that too, by the way? I mean, if you ever seen like Soviet art. Like,
absolutely,
it's absolutely incredible. If you ever see, especially like some of the public spaces where, like, you ever see like the Moscow Underground?
Yes,
it is incredible. I mean, I've been driving. I mean, I've been on the subways in New York. It's like it's a lot of dreariness in there. And if you go in, except for like Grand Central Station, which is kind of amazing, but like, which is not even necessarily the subway, but it's like they got a subway line that goes right next to it. But what's it called? Yeah, if you ever see pictures, I've never been myself, but it looks like the Hagia Sophia or something, you know?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Well, my main thing, like,
and that's a public space.
Like, yeah, so the Soviets did a lot of stuff wrong, but like their art wasn't one of them. When I think of like, if you want to stay on like let's hang out on Soviet propaganda for a moment.
Okay.
Like one of the things that I always think about with Soviet propaganda is how Soviets used our own racial inequality against us, and they advertised the Soviet Union as kind of this.
It's one of the biggest holes in America's game is just how racist it is.
They advertise it as this kind of multicultural utopia, which is where like black intellectuals or anybody like people of color could come and just live in existence, that they wouldn't be marginalized as human beings. And for a time, like that was like the whole reason for that is to give the U.S. a black eye. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Like there's plenty of black intellectuals. There's like you can watch those videos. There's old black people who moved to they moved to Russia and now they moved to the Soviet Union. Now they're still living in Russia. It's like, oh yeah, this was great for me. Like people treated me like a legit comrade. They treated me like, the coolest thing on earth because they knew that me living here was just throwing in, poking the United States in the eye, throwing it in their face of how like unjust of a capitalist society they were. And I was like, yeah, that was self-serving and it was too propagandized, but that didn't mean it wasn't true.
Yeah, and also like the other thing is too that like don't think just because you live in America is this quote unquote like I'm using heavy scare quotes with my fingers, but this like free society is we love to talk about it as opposed to the authoritarian East or whatever, or the authoritarian Soviet. But like we're definitely beaten over the head with the bootstrap propaganda that we hear all the time, despite the fact that we have an extremely rigid class society in America.
No, absolutely. It's that it's like
the bootstrap plus the American dream plus like this is the only place on earth where you have like freedom and that our healthcare system is awesome and wonderful and the best on earth.
I mean, I'd like to hope that the internet has leveled that out.
Spreading democracy to the Middle East. I mean, that is just like unbelievable.
I would hope that, I'd hope that the internet has been kind of the equalizer in that situation, but of course it hasn't totally. But yeah,
not for everybody, definitely not. Definitely not for old people either, because we're not less on the internet,
The idea of just
the sites that they go to on the internet are like, Breitbart or like the Daily Caller or worse. The kind of websites that were like, oh, not only is Obama like secretly a Muslim, but he's also secretly gay. That kind of stuff. The stuff. And it's kind of like drives us into Alex Jones.
The idea of consent and I'm not consent. The idea of descent. And just critique and just grumble about the country you live in, how that can still be kind of beat down like that. How people use that to be like, well, you don't like it, you love like it's wild that still exists because it's like we can just Google. Like, you can just pull out your cell phone and be like, nope, things don't work here. Things don't work here. This is not a good country. Like the whole what was it? Child labor that BMW was doing in Alabama, or was it Mercedes-Benz? I'm sorry, right?
It was Nissan. I want to say it's Nissan.
Thank you.
Child labor is back in America. I can pull this back. I can pull the story up.
Please do. Go right ahead. I'll keep rambling.
Vamp for a second.
Yeah, I can do that. But the idea of like that kind of dissent is still rubbed up against, and you're just like, well, you're not a good American. Like what? Like look around you. Be objectively look at where we live, where like people here in New Orleans, where people are living, underneath the overpass on I-10. Like, it's not a great place.
So it was actually the Hyundai company, which is like, as far as import cars go, fairly like union dense. Yeah, but I mean, likely not so much in the South. But yeah, this is actually came to my attention from our friends who are also on WHIV, the Valley Labor Report. We love Jacob and Adam over there. Actually, former guests on the show. Yeah, cool dudes. But yeah, child labor reportedly used by Alabama Hyundai supplier. Kids as young as 12 allegedly worked in the factory. This is an article from, this is 2 weeks ago. Hyundai supplier used child labor in a plant that supplies parts to the Korean automaker's Montgomery factory, according to a news service. Reuters is reporting that children as young as 12 have recently employed at Smart, Alabama in Laverne, which has supplied parts for Hyundai since 2003. The story of children came to light following the February 3rd disappearance of a 14-year-old Guatemalan migrant child in Alabama, the news service stated. So
Like, how does that even work logistically? I don't even understand. Like, there's maybe that's, because I've read people smarter than me saying this should be the number one story in America, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things that's so egregious.
People won't believe it.
It's not. Yeah, it's like I can't wrap my head around it. Well, how does this happen?
I think the key to a lot of this stuff is that the kid and his entire family and a lot of these kids that were working in the factory, they're Guatemalan.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So basically, these are kids that are essentially, again, refugees from American aggression in Central and South America. They run their way to here to just escape and survive. And where do they end up? Because they have no rights. Is working in the factory because they need to make money, because they need to just get by. This is
wild because
if this was happening to white American kids or even black American kids, this would not be an issue.
No, this is wild because it's like
maybe not the black American.
The bean counters ran the numbers. Whoever approved this ran the numbers, and they said, okay, what's the max fine that we can get when we get caught from this? Okay, that's going to be less than the labor that these people are going to put out. These children are going to put out. So we'll eat the fine if we have to.
Yeah, and it's just like evocative of that, like the picture of like all these kids just like stacked up, like covered in soot, working in the factory from like the mid 19th century.
I mean, when I definitely remember when I was a sheriff deputy and going through police academy, they taught us about immigration raids. They taught us about like, this is how you conduct like a factory raid, because it was like one of the, checking people's papers and stuff. And I was like, so when do we arrest the people who hired them?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Wouldn't that be the criminal? Like,
yeah, that's the bad person. The people that are trying to survive, actually not so bad. No. They're actually trying to do what anybody else in their situation would do, which is feed them their family and get by. Like, that's literally what it is.
Whoo,
buddy.
America. It's a great place.
We're off to a great start. You want some more good news?
Yeah, please.
Here's some more good news. Starbucks is holding life-saving benefits over trans workers' heads.
What?
Managers are wielding a new weapon against unions. Gender-affirming healthcare. This is Oakland Park, Kansas. Maddie Doran worked at the Starbucks on 75th Street and Interstate 35 for 10 months. Not only to pay the bill, she said, but because the company's health insurance covers gender-affirming surgery. Many health plans exclude gender-affirming care, despite the fact that the medically necessary procedures can be life-saving. Harvard research shows that gender-affirming care can significantly reduce suicidal ideation. For example, this is, by the way, from In These Times, written by Zach McNeil. And without the health plan, Doran's facial feminization surgery would cost her $42,000. Mm-hmm. But after Duran joined a union campaign at the store this winter, the benefit was waved over my head, in quotes, as an anti-union scare tactic. With one store manager privately telling her, quote, "You're here for the gender-affirming surgeries, and You're here for the gender-affirming surgeries, and I'm worried about you losing that benefit, becoming the minority in contract negotiation, because ultimately the union decides." Holy smokes, dude.
I like the recognition of, I know you're not here to get paid because there's no way you can live off this. I like that. I mean, that's a nice half-truth, but that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you... Is there more to this?
An email statement from Starbucks in these times said the company would, quote, bargain in good... They're not even denying it. They're not even denying it. They would bargain in good faith, but could make no, quote, guarantees about any benefits. So that's threatening to take away benefits. Mm-hmm. So basically, I mean, in my interpretation, that's illegal, because you can't give different benefits to... unionized workers, and you can't take benefits away because people have decided to unionize, but they're basically saying it's on the table, so we can take it away through negotiations, which is bananas, brah. That is wild.
That is, and that's one of the things that they're saying the quiet part loud there.
They're screaming it.
They're screaming it, and that's the thing why we can't have universal health care in America, because it takes that bullet out of the gun of
labor, because you're
America.
negotiating. Unions are stuck negotiating for ever increasing costs in healthcare, and stuff like wages ends up being second and third, because if you get stuck without healthcare in America and you have an emergency, you are absolutely doomed.
Over with. I mean, you can't be. How many people have jobs that they can't quit because of the benefits? And then when we talk about benefits, we're talking about healthcare. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like just to give me an example, like I work for the city and our healthcare is adequate. It's not even that great, and we have United, and what United really, for somebody who I was on Medicaid for a while, and it was amazing until you need a specialist. And
so it's good for GPs.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for GPs, but until you need a specialist, once you need a specialist, you're out of luck. And the amount of calls that I've had to make, and I really feel for people who can't afford or don't have employer-based health insurance, because I have United. United is also the who handles Medicaid claims for the state of Louisiana. So whenever I call a doctor, whenever I call a specialist, and they're like, "Oh, what insurance? What insurance do you have?" That's the first thing out of your mouth, not yours. And they want to know, not the symptoms. And I go, "Well, I have United," and they go, "What?" And I have to be like, "I have United through my employer because I work for the city."
Right, before they hang up on you.
Yeah, and you literally, I'm not joking. You can hear it in their voice. They go, "Oh, okay."
Okay, you got the good United.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, because they'll be like, "Well, we don't accept," and I'm like, "No, this is through my employer," and they're like, "Oh, okay," but this is again,
it's awful, man.
Hashtag cool country. What a cool place we live.
Love it. We love it.
You could just be threatened. You could just be threatened with health care.
Yeah.
Not even with losing your job. They know that doesn't work. That's the thing. So we're scraping the bottom of the barrel of labor so bad in this country that employers can't even threaten to fire you anymore. They know you're not concerned about the loss of wages because they're not paying you enough to live on anyway.
Yeah.
This is
they just take away your
this is all they have. This is all they have at this point.
It's all I need. Honestly.
Yeah, the ability to not be sick and die. I guess that is
pretty
all
important.
you need. You're on it, Jeff.
Yeah, pretty important. Anyway, losing the benefit because of your union is extremely unlikely, as Katie Barrows, president of the nonprofit Professional Employees Union, explains. Employees form unions to improve their workplaces. Additionally, when employees organize, they are the union, which means they negotiate and vote to approve their union contract. That's right. You can't just say, "Oh, the leadership gave us this contract. We gotta suck an egg or whatever." You can. Members vote on the contract, man. That's how it works. Union members are not going to vote for a contract that leaves them worse off. I've only seen union contracts dramatically improve. So this is again, the reality that the healthcare is going to be taken away isn't one that's necessarily real, but it's being used as a what? Union busting tactic.
A hammer.
Yeah, just to scare people into that no vote, because that's what they really want. They want them to not vote for the union because they know, the boss knows that if they vote for this union, then you're essentially going to have workers in a stronger position that can bargain for more, that can bargain for better health care, that can bargain for better wages. But all you got to do is get that fear in them, get them scared that the union's going to take that stuff away. So.
That's bad. That's bad. That's bad news.
It's shady stuff, man.
Man, I don't know. I was again, being a municipal worker, and my job has issues, but I tell people all the time, they've been there for 20, 30 years. I'm and they'll complain about stuff, and I'm y'all don't know what it's like out in that world. I've only been here for 3, and this is probably the best job I've ever had. The best job I ever had was working at a movie theater when I was 15, 16. That was the best job I ever had.
Because you were in your parents' healthcare.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, and then I was skateboarding the lobby, and the guy who would come
doing ollies.
Yeah, exactly. The guy who would come take the quarters out of the arcade machines. He would like dump a bunch of free play in there for us, and we would like eat free popcorn and search Slurpees all day. It was sweet, dude. Sometimes
that sounds a really tough job.
Sometimes you find a wallet. It was cool. You just take the money out and throw the wallet in the trash. It was great, dude. It was a great job. So this is probably the second best job I've ever had, and it's just like, y'all don't understand how bad it is out there. So it's like I'm slow to complain at my job, even though when I feel like maybe I should more.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
I've been so beaten down by like the hashtag world, the hashtag labor market, that I'm just like, I'm happy to have what I've got. I'm happy to have my like one step above Medicaid insurance. Like, and I think that's the position of most people out there who aren't terminally online or who aren't listening to stuff like this. They're just like,
they just want to get by.
It's like Network, where they're just like, please leave me alone in my own home, you know, with my toaster and my steel belted radials. And again, I'm not the mad prophet or anything, but I have been told I'm a live wire on this thing. But I understand the position of people who just want to check out. And that's how I feel a lot of the time.
Most people do that.
Yeah.
They do it from basically, you know, when they get off of work, they don't think about work. They just like go, you know, get drunk or they get high and they play video games or whatever. And you can do that stuff. That's I got no problem with it. But like, but yeah, it's just like one of those sort of things that, you know, folks just like want to survive and live their lives, and in a situation where they can actually like do that and feel comfortable in doing it, that's actually like a pretty good consideration, considering the immense hostilities to human just existence that this society provides.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me, have you seen this? Did you read that? Did you see what that guy said about that? Not that I'm better than people. I just like, no, I just can't absorb all that. I can't take it all in. It's like every day there's just something wild. Like, I want to talk about, as a segue, like, I want to talk about Alex Jones. Like, if you've been watching the Alex Jones defamation.
I have actually have an article up.
Okay, you could probably tell me more about it, because I actually have been avoiding it. Like, I've seen some of the clips that are just silly, and it's very Better Call Saul-y.
It's like one of these guys who thinks he's, like, smart or whatever, but, like, he ends up, like, he basically like defamed, like he's still doing his radio show. So for folks that
please, that aren't terminally online.
Yeah,
somehow you're listening to this.
So Alex Jones, who's Alex Jones?
Alex Jones is
he's the king of all media.
He's a conspiracy guy who's got his start.
He is a propagandist. We were talking about propaganda earlier. This dude is absolutely a propagandist.
He got his start on Austin, Texas public access, when public access was a thing. So for all you kids out there that don't know what public access is, imagine if YouTube was on the TV
on channel 12 or something like that,
and there was only one YouTube channel at a time. Is that what we call YouTube channels? Is that what you call it, a channel?
Channel 12?
No, YouTube. Like, what are people?
Yeah, they're channels.
Yeah, okay. So imagine they're like every YouTube channel would have like a block. An hour-long block.
You can only do 1 hour a week.
We had it was so awesome. I used to love public access when I was a kid. And I think that I used to listen to a lot of AM radio, which a lot of like talk show stuff. I used to listen to Glenn Beck.
Nice.
Like, not agreeing with him just because it was on.
He's another entertaining propagandist.
Used to listen to a lot. Remember his? He really wasn't entertaining, but he would just be on.
Remember his boards? He had like, he used to like have, like, when he had a show on Fox, I think it was, he would just have these chalkboards that were just like covered in absolute, like, you remember the Pepe Sylvia episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, when Charlie had all the stuff on the wall and like the strings? It was like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also Glenn Beck loves to cry.
He loves to squirt them tears.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like he never did public access, but I feel like he was he was a drive time radio guy.
Like entertainment, like a shock jock.
Yeah, not even a shock jock, but just like, the weather outside is stormy, and so make sure you pack an umbrella. And, we have the 30 minutes of music guarantee.
Yeah,
coming, like
music
that
DJ
kind of guy. Yeah, he was that.
but then he ended up like finding his stride with. Anyway, that's Glenn Beck. This is Alex Jones. But before we get to Alex Jones, you listen to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. So Alex Jones, after the Sandy Hook shooting from 2011, 2012?
Seems like a million years ago.
It seems like a million years ago. So basically, just to summarize it for the babies out there.
Wait, I want to say real quick, hold on to that because I want to just hold that thought. So I was a big fan of Alex Jones until he went on the like fake supplements, like selling gold stuff. He was the kind of guy who
he was a guy that like was bushed in 9/11 and the Bilderbergers and
he was doing
stuff.
Decent journalism.
Okay.
He was actually doing good journalism. I don't know if you know who John Ronson is, but he's the guy who wrote the Men Who Stare at Goats books. He's like a big like conspiracy guy. He's kind of like if John Ronson is like if Louis Theroux, if you know who that documentary filmmaker is, and Werner Herzog like had a baby like that. He's the son. He's the son of those two. And so he did like a whole thing with Alex Jones to where they snuck into Bohemian Grove and like
what's
that's
Bohemian Grove?
Thing. Oh, Bohemian Grove is just like it's this weird culty, very cultish like rich person thing. You have to be like rich and influential to get invited to. It's kind of like Davos, but weirder. They have like bonfires, like
human sacrifice.
I mean, maybe. I mean, allegedly, like those people are like, but that's like legit real. Like not, it's not fake. Henry Kissinger go there. Like pretty much the who's who. Like the Bushes. It's in California. I guess it's still going on. I don't know. But it was one of those things where. It was one of those things where they just walked on the property when just polos and slacks because it was one of those things where like it's the same reason why if you're dressed a certain way you can crash any party because if you look a certain way no one's going to question you because they're afraid of the clapback. They don't know who you are and that they don't know who you are is scary.
Yeah.
Because they're like, who is that? Like I'm not getting in his way. I don't even know who that is. But so they just went in there and like they videotaped the whole bonfire thing and like the cremation of kids. It's very scary. Like you want to talk about conspiracy stuff, but he's the guy. And I have to take this from Sam Cedar. Sam Cedar said it's the most genius thing about Alex Jones. He said that if the CIA didn't create Alex Jones, they would. Yeah. If he's not a CIA asset, they would create him. Because
he's not a CIA controlled asset, but he is a CIA. He's not CIA. They would do nothing to stop this guy.
Well, the thing is, like, he's the classic flood the zone guy, to where he would say if you listen to his 5-hour radio show he had every day in between like selling gold and like rice flour supplements.
Yeah, and Alpha Brain.
He would say if he said 100 things, 80 of them would be complete flights of fancy. 20 would be 100% factual.
Maybe less than 20, but
so, no. I would say like a lot of his content was 100% you research it, factual stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so sandwiched in with the nonsense that it floods the zone and things that are real just get shoved down the memory hole.
You can't tell a difference.
Yeah. And that's why it was like if you wasn't a CIA asset, like the CIA would try to create him.
Yeah. But the CIA doesn't need to create him because because these kinds of characters
he would do stuff like if you know like the Georgia Guidestones got blown up not that long ago. There was these like stone tablets that would be like we need to like decrease human population and like blah blah blah. And like that's weird. That's weird that they're just out there on public land and just showed up. Like people should be talking about that stuff. Like who put this here? This is some weird stuff that's on here. And he would do that kind of stuff. And then he would do the whole you know how he always gets memed about the I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the frogs gay. Yeah. That's true. Like that's actually like a thing that happens because it's not that the frogs are turning gay. It's like if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, the way that they get dinosaur DNA or the way the dinosaurs can reproduce even though they're sterile is because they can change sex.
Right.
That's what he was talking about. And it's like
that's not that the frogs are gay. It's the frogs are trans.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the chemicals would like make the frogs change sex spontaneously, and that's what he was talking about. So it's like, yeah, that's real, and then he'll say something absolutely crazy like Pizzagate.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I just want to like lay down my kind of.
That's who he is.
I wouldn't be doing this like goofing around with you on Saturday on the radio if it wasn't for like Alex Jones.
Sure,
guys like that.
Yeah. And again, the guy is a tremendous entertainer.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like he's basically kind of like a right-wing Howard Stern, except for like way more intense. Like how this guy has never had like multiple heart attacks is kind of shocking to me because he's so intense and so he's so much. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he got into a bit of trouble after the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012 after he basically said that it was a false flag and individually targeted a 6-year-old boy that was murdered in this shooting, this school shooting, and his family, and essentially was brought up on defamation charges, which is a civil charge. And as of yesterday, I think it was 2 days ago, Thursday, he was ordered by a court to pay $4.1 million in compensation to the family and $45.2 million in punitive damages.
I didn't know about the 45.
Yeah, he's paying around $50 million. Now, let me just straighten this part out, too, because it's important. Around the time of Sandy Hook, around this time, Alex Jones was making around $800,000 a day on InfoWars. He's worth like I'll look this up. He's worth about $280 million. The dude can afford it. And also at the same time, somehow he's like juking the numbers by filing for bankruptcy. So like there's so much going on here. Plus, let me just like lay a little bit more of this sort of like wild situation out. There were situations where Alex Jones would accidentally like forward his entire phone, or his legal team like forward his entire phone to the somehow the defense attorneys. I mean, I'm sorry, the prosecutors, the plaintiffs, I guess in this case, if it's a civil case, the plaintiffs got their hands on like the entire phone of the of Alex Jones from the time, and essentially what he was doing was sending child porn.
What? No,
messages.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
this
child porn
is brand new to me. I'm reacting to this right now.
Child porn in messages to like the Sandy Hook victims, and like basically using it as a way to defame these people. And then furthermore, I gotta keep going. I can't stop right now.
I have to like write that down or something because I want to circle back to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up. There's an article. Right. Google it real fast. But there was also like wild situation in this as well, because during the case he was accused, he's still doing his radio show while he's on trial. Like after he gets off, he goes and does his radio show. He starts talking about how the judge, the jury rather, is a bunch of pedophiles. And then when the judge admonishes him, he just decides to go on a show and say that the judge is a pedophile. It is wild. This dude cannot help himself.
Absolutely wild. I knew about that. I knew about
the child porn or the
no, the child porn. I wanna push back on you on it because I'm actually like having a like okay. So this is a complete civil case.
Yeah,
that I know. If you transmit, I've watched enough Chris Hansen to know if you transmit child pornography, that is a felony.
Yeah.
So how? No, wait a minute. You can't do that. So why does he not have criminal?
So this is an article that dates all the way back to 2019 that I just pulled up from NBC Fake News. Child porn found in documents Alex Jones sent to lawyers of Sandy Hook families, court filing says. Lawyers representing the families of Sandy Hook massacre victims who were suing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones said they received child pornography in documents that they were sent by the InfoWars founder, according to court papers filed Monday in Connecticut. Consultants working with the lawyers discovered the images in the documents that were requested during the court hearing in April, the filing says. A lawyer representing the families immediately alerted the FBI, according to the filing. Quote, the FBI advised counsel that its review located numerous illegal images, which had apparently been sent to InfoWars email address, the filing says. So this definitely happened.
So, again, how they not... I'm sorry to put you on the spot here if you weren't ready for it, but, like, again, are they not finding the guy, whoever sent this? Like, you send this, you knowingly transmit underage sexual images of minors. Like, you're going to the real big jail.
Bruh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Seriously, let's put a pin in that and get an answer, because this feels almost too serious for like even this show. I really want, like, you've piqued my interest here.
Yeah, this is like, this whole thing has been absolutely wild. So when Alex Jones sent his entire phone to the plaintiff's side, this happened like in the court. Like, they're literally like, hey, Alex Jones, we have your phone. We've given your side notice in this discovery process. You haven't responded within the requisite 10 days that you have to say that this is like privileged information or whatever. So we're going to use this in court. And then, like, after the fact, after they've already started giving the information out in court, Alex Jones' side is like, actually, we do want to call that privileged information. All this stuff that we didn't mean to send you.
Wow,
it's so bananas, bro. He's got like the worst legal team, but like, and then at the end, even while the jury was in deliberation for damages, Alex Jones was like trying to get his legal team was trying to get his side to just like do a mistrial because of all this stuff with the phone. It has been just like an absolute wild ride, and it's like, again, at this, like, while you're like laughing and seeing this guy getting like some level of comeuppance or whatever, at the same time, it's like, this isn't even a dent in the fortune of this dude, and he's going to use this to talk about how the Bilderbergers are trying to take him down and fundraise even more. He's not going to get hurt by this.
No,
this is going to help him.
Well, okay, so he's got the money.
Like, he's got the money. He's going to make more off of this.
Here's the guy's a meme. The guy's a joke. As much like kind of, I was definitely a fan of the guy at least 15 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago. I think we're the same age.
Dude, Alex
like
Jones?
41. He looks so much older than me.
He looks like
because I remember looking
trash.
at him. I remember thinking like, man, I want to do a media thing, and this guy was like out here doing it. And I actually started going. I actually did the classes that you had to take with the city to do public access, like because of this guy. But I wanted to get that out because I don't have any like good feelings for him. I hope he was scamming people as like a workout gym bro. Now he was scamming people from.
When are we going to start selling Alpha Brain?
I'm saying from garbage supplements. Like supplements are such a scam. And I've
been watching, just as an aside, I've been watching a lot of like old wrestling, like 1990s WWF, Ico Pro.
Dude, I gotta buy an Ico Pro shirt. You can like buy one.
Which was like, Ico Pro was like the supplement that WWF was selling at the time.
Bad,
it's so silly. And that was the one where a lot of the steroid scandal came up around too.
Well, like, what's so funny about, like, I think as far as supplements, the only people that can still like kind of get scammed are like, I don't know, like Alex Jones listeners.
You gotta want to get scammed a little bit.
Like the guy, yeah.
Joe Rogan listeners too.
Joe
Rogan still sells that stuff.
I don't understand how Joe Rogan listeners get scammed, because I think like Joe Rogan listeners can do a Google search. I was having this discussion last night with Aaron.
They pay him though. They pay him, so somebody's got to be buying that stuff.
Yeah, somebody definitely is, and I don't understand it. Like, to give you an example of like how competitive, like, and how. Okay, so you know, like Bang energy drink, right?
Yeah.
And like that's like the worst, like their packaging is the most infantile, like douchey.
The least legit operation of all of the energy drinks.
What is this? And you look at if you look at the can and you read the ingredients, they've got like a proprietary energy blend, which means nothing. That just means they're not going
to tell you what's in it.
Which means they just blew fairy dust on it.
Yeah.
Like it did. Like there's nothing in there now. To give you an example of that, because like the average Andy who just goes and be like, bang, I want my energy drink so I can game or like break bricks or like whatever. Like I'm just gonna pick this up because it looks extreme, right? Bang also has a pre-workout. Your boy is on that Bang pre-workout. You know why? Because it's legit.
You're banging.
You pick up the tub of Bang pre-workout. It's not an advertisement for them. The guy who owns it is a doucher. But you pick up the tub, and instead of saying proprietary blend this, blend of this, that, it says 5,000 milligrams of creatine.
Yeah.
300 something milligrams of caffeine. It says it right on it because we've gotten to a point in the supplement game where most people are going to pick up a bottle or a tub and it says proprietary. They're putting it right back.
They're not selling Yellow Jackets no more.
They're like, this is done with. Mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing about that is a lot of that stuff that was like Yellow Jackets and like that like the groceries, the gas station stuff was
GNC.
Actually,
that stuff was at GNC.
That stuff was actually legit. We're going on kind of a tangent. I want to get back to Alex Jones, but that stuff was actually legit. Mm-hmm. Because what they would do is it was cheaper instead of trying to make some like proprietary magical like rhino horn blend of like Gorilla Sweat. They're like, why don't we just have our proprietary blend and we just put Trenbolone in there. We put anabolic steroids in there. Yeah. So that's because this isn't regulated by the FDA.
Yeah.
Like your boy was on like an estrogen blocker like back in the day. And I was like,
yeah, we talked about this last time.
Oh, I did. And yeah, like
we talked about the gender affirming aspect.
Yeah, I went into GNC and I was like, "Hey, where's my estrogen blocker?" And like, "Oh, they took it off the market." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, "Oh, because it had steroids." I was like, "This stuff was real. I had the real thing." But
I just remember that when I was in high school was when like Yellow Jackets were really big.
Yeah.
And the kids, some of the like kids on the team would just be like right before a game or whatever, they like taking Yellow Jackets and like.
Well, you know, if you go like I saw a thing, I think Vice did it or whatever. You know, if you go by like those not grocery store, but like the convenience store like sex pills or whatever, it's just like legit Viagra and Cialis.
Yeah, it's just deregulated.
Yeah, because they're just like, well, it's just cheaper to put this. We got this from China. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
But
before we get back, let me just read Join the Wizard, Matthew Graves, Saturday afternoons at 2 for unpredictable blend of country, blues, jazz, early R&B, and classic rock. Matthew Graves, 2 to 4, the station dedicated to human rights and social justice, 102.3 WHIV. LP New Orleans. Go on, Robert.
But my point is with Alex Jones, I have no goodwill towards him. I hope he's got shoestrings holding up his pants. The thing that, and I haven't been watching this trial because it's like I don't want to see some clown comedy show. Like you've
been missing a good show.
I got better stuff to do. I got better stuff to watch at work, right? When I should be working.
Wrong. Just wrong.
My point is, the interesting thing about it is, where do we draw the line as a society? And I know we have libel laws and defamation, but for a guy to say dumb stuff to a lot of people, where do we draw the line of saying, and I know this is still just a civil trial, but where do we draw the line of saying this is harmful and you can't do that?
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting to me because like, it's like, what about our God-given right just to say stupid stuff? So does it matter like how many people are reached by the stupid things that we say? And like, are we responsible for the stupid things that we say? Other people's actions because we said a dumb thing, like yelling fire in a theater, you know? And you've got like, you think about Alex Jones talking about Pizzagate, talking about fake, crisis actors at Sandy Hook. Well, you know, your boy Bill O'Reilly was talking about the abortion doctor, Dr. Tiller, and calling him Tiller the baby killer. Murdered. And he got murked because of it. So it's like, where's the civil trial for that? If not a civil trial, like where's the criminal trial? Like, is that a thing we should even think about in this society? This isn't a rhetorical question. I really don't know.
I hate to be Glenn Greenwald about this a little bit.
No, I think it's fine.
But like, he would say something along the lines of, and like again, he's somebody who describes himself as a free speech absolutist. He's gone down a very bad path, down the right wing Tucker Carlson path, and really feels like that's something that was calculated in terms of, hey, this is how I can make a bunch of money right now, right? But anyway, one of the things that he used to say, and he probably would still say today, is that this is something that was notable enough to create and establish sort of like a case that can just say, hey, it's essentially like a right-wing case that can now be utilized and weaponized against the left.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's got the actual question that you pose here is an interesting one. Unfortunately, that's not how it's going to be enforced. right? Bill O'Reilly isn't going to suddenly be like held responsible for, the Tiller Baby Kill It comments that he made 20 years ago. Tucker Carlson is not going to like be held responsible for like inciting people to go to Wisconsin and shooting up protesters at a Black Lives Matter riot. That's never going to happen. But, if we get over here and we talk about like theory of like a theory of like violent, uprising by the workers and overthrowing the capitalist government, we might get clapped up real good. You know what I mean? That's like when Hassan on Twitch gets banned for like, people get banned on Twitch for saying slurs and he gets banned for saying cracker.
Right.
That's what I think. That's where I think this could end up going. Is it? And again,
see, but I am the main guy because the reason why this dings around in my head, I'm the main guy that says never play defense. Never go. Don't worry about like what your opposition is thinking or true. I mean, you should worry about what they're thinking, but you cannot plan like your strategies around like, well, if I do this, he's going to do that. And then it freezes you into inaction. Well, that's the point. So I'm the main person who does that. But I think you're right. And I've been watching, I was watching, there's a really good BBC. I wouldn't say it's really good because it's kind of one-sided, but the actors are really good. But it's about the terror in the French Revolution. And and it has our boy Slavoj Žižek in it, and he's
we love Slavoj Žižek.
He's like the counterpoint to like he's like the counterpoint to these liberals who are just like, oh my God, the French Revolution was so terrible. Look how many people got guillotined. And Slavoj's just like, what? You make the omelet, you break the eggs. That's how it goes.
So on.
He's like, don't be counter-revolutionary.
Yeah. And
and it's you should check it out. It's on YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
But my point is,
we love a garbage raccoon, don't we?
I would
folks?
like to think in whatever sliding door, what's that movie with Margaret Cho? Not Margaret Cho, but it's Michelle Yeoh. All things at once or whatever.
Everything always. Yeah. Everything at once. Yeah.
I think like whatever like sliding door, sliders, Fox Friday night reality you could think of where I could be rich, poor, white, German, whatever. I don't think there's any one of those like
everything everywhere all at once.
Thank you. It's a good movie. I don't think there's any one of those like counter realities or whatever those where I would be a Nazi. But I definitely think there are plenty of alternate realities, probably including this one, where I would be a Jacobin.
Okay.
And I'd be like, oh yeah, let's go get them. And I think about, what Alex Jones would be like counter-revolutionary, and he would be like he'd be tried by the tribunal, the Ministry of Public Safety,
Committee of Public Safety,
and I'd be like, I'd probably be 100% on board with it, but then
it's a question of power. What
happens then when you just start taking that? I don't want to say too far, but like you said,
it's a question of power and not a question of morals. Who's calling the shots here is who's going to dole this kind of stuff out. We live in a capitalist government. Anything that threatens capitalism in this world will be executed in the best way that can be done. Through
more simply, do you understand what I'm saying? I say that, screw Alex Jones. I want him to be penniless in the street, but because he's a scumbag. But what could be used against him could be turned against me at a moment's notice, and I have real kind of pause.
Well, so what I also kind of see happening right now,
I never feel like that about anything else.
That's
Most
fine.
time I'm like, I don't care.
Well, so politically, what I sort of seeing too is the perspective of conspiracy theories that Alex Jones represents. This right wing sort of like. I wouldn't even say like crypto fascism, but like parafascism, I guess you could say, is being jettisoned by, or at least the optics that he represents is being jettisoned for a more respectable version of fascism, that the Stephen Miller type fascism. Ooh. That's what's happening.
As an
in
Alex
my
Jones
opinion.
fan, yeah, because like Ron Paul used to go on his show, and then like he would have like kind of mainstream people.
Yeah. He had Trump on.
Yeah.
He had Trump on not that long ago when Trump was either running for or was already president.
He doesn't have that kind of pull.
He doesn't have clout.
He hasn't had that kind of pull since
January 6th at least.
Not
before that. Probably after the election.
Yeah. Like I'd say Pizzagate-y stuff.
Yeah. Pizzagate was definitely they talk directly into the microphone. But like Pizzagate-y stuff, yeah, too. But like I don't know. That even that wasn't that out of bounds for him because he was the original. Like people talk about, like it's a meme now. The jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams and all this other stuff. But like he was doing that in 2001. You know, he's been doing that since forever. He's been doing this crazy. He's never been.
See, and that's like perfect. Mm-hmm. That's the perfect like example of what I'm talking about. Why a guy like him is so dangerous.
The right is cleaning up its act. Yeah. Is what's happening. That's what's happening. The sort of like these sort of conservative forces that exist within the world are cleaning up their act. They're getting rid of the people that are giving them make like discrediting him essentially, and in a sense, like that's not gonna like unalign the people like Alex Jones himself or the people that follow him from like the greater project. He's still going to bring in tons of money. He's still going to do all this other thing. But this is him just getting clapped over the head with a hammer just for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, and that's. I just want to go back to like my original point of like why a guy like him is so dangerous because the kind of stuff that he would try to smooth over and peddle. Like, yeah, you want to talk about 9/11? Like, let's talk about 9/11. Like that's real weird. Like that was a weird thing. Like how like our allies, all these guys came from Saudi Arabia, and we knew they were kind of bad guys, and they just ended up here. And there's so many like weird things to talk about. Like let's have a good conversation about that. You want to talk about Pizzagate? Like that's not a thing, but like Jeffrey Epstein definitely is, and those things get like smashed together. So when you smash together, like 9/11 is kind of weird. We should definitely like look into that with jet fuel can't melt steel beams, and he's even said like it was a hologram, like the plane, like the buildings were exploded and what you saw was a hologram.
Yeah, which is just absolutely bananas.
I'm like, wow, that is wild. And it's like it's wild to even say. Or you want to talk about again? You smash Jeffrey Epstein. This is real. Child sex trafficking happened, and then you try to smash together that with like fake DC pizza basement conspiracies.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what is real? Like, so it all gets lumped together, and then nothing's real anymore. And that's why you got Grandma and Mima running around saying everything's fake news.
And then
because this is what she's being fed.
And then the last thing in sort of like this sort of disciplining dynamic that's happening is actually pushing Alex Jones, who had, if people were paying attention during January 6th stuff, kind of distanced himself from the the QAnon sort of sector, like literally at the event, like even though he was one of the core sort of like initiates, he was essentially like, don't go in the Capitol, they're gonna like turn this on us or whatever. He like tried to lead people to march away and failed. So that was sort of like a split. And he even had like rants where he would like scream about Q people and like Trump being the Messiah and like hating them. But this kind of thing pushes him closer to Q.
See, I think he was a guy who, in his mind, he was a race car driver, and he always thought he knew where the limit of the car was, and then he took the car over the limit in a turn, and the brakes failed.
But he's still in the car, and the car's still going.
Smashed right into a wall.
No, he's not smashed. He just got dinged, and he's still rolling, and he's going faster. I don't know,
man. I think this is how. Okay, that's a good thing to end on. Like, how deep is a Trump? Because I mean, he's aligned with guys like Trump. Like the same kind of guy who's like in
literally
Trump
had him on the show
is the same guy who's like in Alex Jones. They're loud, but how deep are they really? And how are they deep? Are they deep enough to spend the kind of money to support his lifestyle?
I mean, again, he was making $800,000 a day.
Yeah, but I mean now. I mean, no more Rogan, no more. Who was the?
What do you mean no more Rogan? I don't know. What that means.
Mean, like Rogan, Rogan had detached himself from.
Has he?
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I listened to a lot of Joe Rogan. Sorry, that's my.
That's fine.
I moved right from Jones to Rogan.
That's fine.
But yeah, we've had that conversation where I love Joe Rogan when he talks about who would win in a fight between a grizzly bear and a gorilla.
Yeah.
Those are the great
Bro science
conversations I
stuff.
love to
Or
have.
yeah.
But when he starts talking about things that are like actually matter, he should never ever do that.
Yeah.
But no, he's detached himself. I'm trying to think of the comedian who used to go around saying, "I'm a libertarian. I'm a Doug Stanhope. I'm a libertarian."
God, dude.
He used to be on there all the time, and he's like,
worst.
and then he was like, "Libertarianism's dumb now." He's like, "Yeah, he's totally reformed now." He's like, "This is stupid."
That's the other thing. Comedians are so flaky.
Yeah. Doug Stanhope's cool though.
Anyway,
But yeah, so all the people who've like kept him in the mainstream, they've kind of detached. Like he can't get his online only. Like he can't like
he got clapped by YouTube.
Yeah, he got clapped by YouTube. He's not on any radio stations terrestrially anymore. He's not on satellite. The satellite has no reach, but still, do you see what I'm saying? It's like his world is getting smaller and smaller. So it's like the person who's like goes out of his way to listen to Alex Jones and has the money to support his lifestyle. I just think that's
It's waning.
circle.
Yeah, maybe so. Anyway, we do have to get out of here, but before we do, Rise and Shine Sunday morning at 5 a.m. with Josh Burns and Love Based Radio. It's an eclectic journey of motivational teachings and love-based music. Love Based Radio with Josh Burns, Sundays at 5 a.m. on WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. Also, if you're listening to us live, after this, I'm going straight over to Pagoda to start setting up for our Break Light Clinic.
That's awesome.
Come on out there, join us if you would like to do so.
How long are you going to be out there?
We're going to be out there from noon to 4. I'm not going to be out there the whole time, but it's definitely a good day to change some brake lights, to do a health clinic, and to do some good old mutual aid.
That's so cool, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We got Red and Russ coming up next. Thank you so much, everybody. We love you. Bye-bye.